Welcome to week 3 of the Healthy Living Series Challenge. This week, we get to dive into mental health. We'll talk about what stress is and how we can better manage our stress through resiliency, mindset, and boundaries. Raise your hand if you have ever felt stressed. Well, hands raised or not, we all have experienced stress, which can come from a variety of factors. Your family, your job, financial security, deadlines, relationships, social stress, being on time. These can all cause stress, even circumstances that are out of our control, like the unknown, the weather, or someone else's decisions can all cause stress. Stress is a natural part of life, and it's necessary, but when it is left unchecked, it can become a negative impact on our physical and emotional health. For most of us, we barely notice our stress levels because our bodies have adapted to the stress. But when we're feeling tired, distracted, irritated, or when we always have the nagging feeling that time is running out, this is when we need to address the ways that we can help ourselves become more resilient because stress is having a negative impact now on our lives. How does stress affect our bodies? When our stress response is triggered, a myriad of events are triggered in our bodies to prepare us for that event. These things include our heart rate and blood pressure increasing, our blood sugar rising, our digestion becoming halted, and our immune system becoming suppressed. And while this response is needed for things like running away from a threat or a predator, the real concern lies when we live in that prolonged fight or flight state, in response to daily activities like meetings, traffic jams, deadlines, and so on. So what is actually happening? Once this response is triggered, there's not much we can do to overhaul it. The hormones needed have already been released, which cause a chain of events in our cells. Stress promotes inflammation, and while you might not be able to see it right away, over time this chronic stress is one of the culprits to many chronic diseases. So what can you do to make yourself more resilient? There are so many great skills that can be learned and developed to help us handle life's challenges with a sense of control, turn negative experiences into positive ones, and grow from any adversity we may face. Here are a few favorites. First, focus on one thing at a time. We can't answer every email and work on 3 projects at once. Our brains just aren't wired that way. While multitasking may sound effective and efficient, the best way to reduce stress is to complete one thing at a time. Second, become more aware of your feelings. It is so important to understand what you're feeling and why. Don't let your emotions overwhelm you. Knowing what you feel is so valuable to your personal growth. Third, be an optimist. This goes beyond just saying, looking at the bright side, but it's actually allowing yourself to view the world in a way where you can maximize your strengths and accomplishments and minimize your setbacks. Did you know that optimists live significantly longer than pessimists? Next, try taking a pause. The stop technique creates this little pause in your life which can break the stress cycle and help you to feel more present and calm. It goes like this. First, S. Stop what you are doing. Next, T. Take a few deep breaths. Next is O. Observe the sensations in your body and smile. And finally, P. Proceed with an awareness and compassion. Try this stop technique a few times throughout the day. Next is exercise. This is an incredible way to handle stress and benefits every part of our lives. Another great technique is to be realistic. Shed the Superman, Superwoman mentality. It's okay to say no so that you don't get overwhelmed. Shed this perfection expectation and don't hesitate to ask for help. And finally, share your feelings. A brief conversation with a therapist, a friend, or family member, or maybe even a coworker can provide you with the support and guidance you might need to break through the stress. As you begin making some simple and practical changes, you'll be able to not only reduce the risk of chronic disease, but you will also be working on building your legacy and fulfilling your deepest potential. Resiliency is also a huge part of managing stress. What does it mean to be resilient? Resiliency means bouncing back from experiences like adversity, trauma, tragedy, threats, or stress. Being resilient is something that can be learned and developed, and it is much more than just being mindful or positive. True resiliency is being able to adapt to and thrive in the midst of change. Believe it or not, so much of our culture is based around being resilient. Think about some of these famous songs, like the one by Kelly Clarkson where she says, "What doesn't kill you makes you stronger," or Gloria Gaynor's famous "I Will Survive." In life, we will all face troubles or misfortune, and it's important to work on this skill so that you can bounce back in a positive way. Did you know that people who focus on building their resiliency are more likely to meet the demands of their academic, work, and personal lives successfully? More likely to take action to deal with challenges, problems, and setbacks? More likely to seek support and assistance when they need it? More likely to know when to stop, rest, and replenish their inner resources? They're more likely to have a sense of independence, self-efficacy, and self-worth. More likely to form and maintain positive, mutually respectful relationships with others. And finally, they're more likely to have a sense of purpose and goals for their future. To fully understand how we approach stress, we also need to look at mindset. Mindset is a word that we've been hearing often, and there's great reason for this. Your mindset, in combination with your core values and beliefs, truly does affect everything in your life. How you think, how you feel, how you act, and how you react. I want you to ask yourself something. Am I open and curious to learning and change? Or am I one that sticks to what I know because it's comfortable and safe? These two simple questions can reveal a lot about your mindset. So those who tend to stick to what they know generally have a fixed mindset. A great example of a fixed mindset can be found in playing basketball. Those with a fixed mindset might say, "Basketball isn't my thing," or "I wasn't born a basketball player." Those who have a growth mindset believe that they truly can develop and learn a skill through hard work. Generally, those with a growth mindset are always learning and have the ability to embrace challenges as they arise and have a passion to seek continual self-development and improved life experiences. Let's take a quick little self-test from Carol Dweck, author of Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. Read each of the following statements and decide whether you mostly agree or disagree with it. Your intelligence is something very basic about you that you can't change very much. You can learn new things, but you really can't change how intelligent you are. No matter how much intelligence you have, you can always change it quite a bit. And you can always substantially change how intelligent you are. If you agree with 1 and 2, this reflects a fixed mindset. If you agree with 3 and 4, this points to a growth mindset. It is possible to have a mix of both mindsets, but people generally tend to lean one way or the other. Working on your mindset is a powerful way to change your thoughts. Here are some steps to retrain your brain. First, awareness. Most of the time, the way we talk to ourselves becomes habit. If we are used to criticizing ourselves or gently sabotaging our own success, then that becomes our norm. Once you become aware of this inner voice and how it speaks, you can effectively work towards changing it. Next, change your language. Focus on the positive. If 5 things go well and 1 thing goes wrong, we tend to focus on that one thing that went wrong. We have something called a negativity bias, where we tend to give weight to the negative experiences over positive ones. Once you're aware, challenge yourself to talk about the positive things in your day and adopt a growth mindset voice. This voice will say things like, I'm not exactly sure how to move forward with this task, but with time I can learn how. Or, it's okay to have failures because we only learn from our mistakes. This type of positive self-talk is very powerful. Next, surround yourself with people who have the mindset you desire. One of the best ways to enhance yourself is to surround yourself with people who have already adapted the mindset you crave. Want to have more success or more money? Start spending time with those who are more abundant in those areas and think about how they think, what they say, and what their daily habits are. Finally, seek help and never stop learning. There are times where we need help from outside sources to push us in the right direction. Embrace audiobooks, hard copy books, and counseling to help you uncover any blocks that might be hindering your self-development. After all, we all need a coach to be our best and to live our legacy. Take some time to work through the mindset questions in the Questions to Shifting Your Mindset handout and challenge yourself to think positively and with a growth mindset. We need to think about boundaries. This also plays a large role in our mental and emotional health. So I want you to ask yourself, do you have any boundaries set for yourself? Let's start by discussing what are boundaries. There are different types of boundaries, like physical and emotional, as well as different levels, from loose to rigid. Boundaries are the limits between you and someone else, that clear space where you begin and the other person ends. Having boundaries are important because they purposefully and intentionally take care of you, making sure you are stable, in control, and staying aligned with your values. When it comes to self-care, it's up to you to set the standard. When we set clear boundaries, we have a meaningful connection with life, whereas poor boundaries can easily lead to anger, stress, financial burdens, or relationship issues. Learning how to create and respect your personal boundaries will allow others to respect them too. To establish healthy boundaries. Step 1 is to set your limits. Ask what can you tolerate and what makes you feel stressed. Establish end times for your workday, as that's where most of us spend a lot of our days. Step 2, pay attention to how things make you feel. If a particular situation or person makes you feel uncomfortable, resentful, or guilty, these are typical red flags that need assessed. We can often feel taken advantage of in work settings or personal settings by taking on too much or extending ourselves beyond limits because we think that makes us a better friend, employee, spouse, or parent. The truth is, taking on too much often leads to you being put last and adds unnecessary stress, which is not protective of your self-care. Step 3, communicate clearly and create an agenda. Often our work life bleeds into our personal life, meaning we check emails and tend to work duties when we're off the clock. This is where we can set boundaries for ourselves that once we are home, we limit device time so that we can focus on our life outside of work and be present in these moments after work. Be prepared for violations. It is inevitable that our boundaries will be broken, but what's important is that we're ready to handle the situation. Realistically, we can't prepare for every situation, but try to play some scenarios over in your head to decide how you would react. So, say your boss sends you an email on Saturday. Decide how you'll respond. Will you respond right away, or let it wait until Monday morning? Or maybe you have a coworker who has a habit of 20-minute chats every day, and it's interrupting your ability to finish your work. Could you set up 15-minute meetings each week to discuss agendas instead of being interrupted? Or maybe your son or daughter continually asks you to take care of their children, and it's taking advantage of your own time. Could you establish some clear boundaries of when and how often you're available to help with childcare? From your personal experiences, you can see how important boundaries are. Building boundaries takes time and also practice, And we hope that your experiences, coupled with awareness, can help guide you on the journey that works best for you. And as always, remember to have fun. Setting boundaries and managing stress are meant to enhance your life, and we hope you find many ways that it does.